it chapter by chapter, one bite at a time. So many adventures and mountains we can climb. Take it word for word, line by line, one bite at a time.
Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you want to know what's coming next and vote on upcoming books, sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. You can find most of our links in the show notes, but also our website, biteatatimebooks.com, includes all of the links for our show, including to our Patreon to support the show, and YouTube, where we have special behind the narration of the episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic authors to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please note, while we try to keep the text as close to the original as possible, some words have been changed to honor the marginalized communities who've identified the words as harmful, and to stay in alignment with Bite at a Time Books' brand values. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 3, 4 and 4. It is hard nowadays to picture to oneself what a pleasure trip of students and grisettes to the country was like 45 years ago. The suburbs of Paris are no longer the same. The physiognomy of what may be called circum-Parisian life has changed completely in the last half-century. Where there was the cuckoo, there is the railway car. Where there was a tender boat, there is now the steamboat. People speak of Fécamp nowadays as they spoke of St. Cloud in those days. The Paris of 1862 is a city which has France for its outskirts. The four couples conscientiously went through with all the country follies possible at that time. The vacation was beginning, and it was a warm, bright summer day. On the preceding day, Favorite, the only one who knew how to write, had written the following to Tholomyès in the name of the four. It is a good hour to emerge from happiness. That is why they rose at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they went to St. Cloud by the coach, looked at the dry cascade and exclaimed, "This must be very beautiful when there is water." They breakfasted at the Tête Noire, where Castaing had not yet been. They treated themselves to a game of ring-throwing under the quincunx of trees of the Grand Fountain. They ascended Diogenes' lantern. They gambled for macarons at the roulette establishment of the Pont des Sèvres, picked bouquets at Bateau, bought reed pipes at Neuilly, ate apple tarts everywhere, and were perfectly happy. The young girls rustled and chatted like warblers escaped from their cage. It was a perfect delirium. From time to time, they bestowed little taps on the young men. Matutinal intoxication of life. Adorable years. The wings of the dragonfly quiver. Oh, whoever you may be, do you not remember? Have you rambled through the brushwood, holding aside the branches on account of the charming head which is coming on behind you? Have you slid, laughing, down a slope all wet with rain, with a beloved woman holding your hand and crying, "Ah, my new boots, what a state they are in"? Let us say at once that merry obstacle, a shower, was lacking in the case of this good-humored party, although Favorite had said as they set out, with a magisterial and maternal tone, "The slugs are crawling in the paths. A sign of rain, children." All four were madly pretty. A good old classic poet, then famous. A good fellow who had an Eleanor, Monsieur le Chevalier de Louis, as he strolled that day beneath the chestnut trees of St. Cloud, saw them pass about 10 o'clock in the morning and exclaimed, "There is one too many of them," as he thought of the Graces. Favorite, Blacheville's friend, the one aged 23. The old one ran on in front under the great green boughs, jumped the ditches, stalked distractedly over bushes, and presided over this merrymaking with the spirit of a young female faun. Zéphine and Dahlia, whom chance had made beautiful in such a way that they set off when they were together, and completed each other, never left each other, more from an instinct of coquetry than from friendship, and clinging to each other they assumed English poses. The first keepsakes had just made their appearance. Melancholy was dawning for women as later on Byronism dawned for men, and the hair of the tender sex began to droop dolefully. Zéphine and Dahlia had their hair dressed in rolls. Listolier and Famiel, who were engaged in discussing their professors, explained to Fantine the difference that existed between Monsieur Delvincourt and Monsieur Blondeau. Blachevelle seemed to have been created expressly to carry favorite single-bordered imitation India shawl of Tourneau's manufacture on his arm on Sundays. Tholomyès followed, dominating the group. He was very gay, but one felt the force of government in him. There was dictation in his joviality. His principal ornament was a pair of trousers of elephant-like pattern of nankeen, with straps of braided copper wire. He carried a stout rattan worth 200 francs in his hand, and as he treated himself to everything, a strange thing called a cigar in his mouth. Nothing was sacred to him. He smoked. "That Tholomyès is astounding," said the others with veneration. "What trousers, what energy!" As for Fantine, she was a joy to behold. Her splendid teeth had evidently received an office from God. Laughter. She preferred to carry her little hat of sewed straw, with its long white strings, in her hand, rather than on her head. Her thick blonde hair, which was inclined to wave, and which easily uncoiled, and which it was necessary to fasten up incessantly, seemed made for the flight of Galatea under the willows. Her rosy lips babbled enchantingly. The corners of her mouth, voluptuously turned up, as in the antique masks of Aragon, had an air of encouraging the audacious. But her long, shadowy lashes drooped discreetly over the jollity of the lower part of the face as though to call a halt. There was something indescribably harmonious and striking about her entire dress. She wore a gown of mauve barège, little reddish-brown buskins, whose ribbons traced an X on her fine, white, open-worked stockings, and that sort of muslin spencer, a Marseille invention, whose name, canezou, a corruption of the words quinze, out, pronounced after the fashion of the Caniebre, signifies fine weather, heat, and midday. The three others, less timid, as we have already said, wore low-necked dresses without disguise, which in summer, beneath flower-adorned hats, are very graceful and enticing. But by the side of these audacious outfits, blonde Fantine's canezou, with its transparencies, its indiscretion, and its reticence, concealing and displaying at one and the same time, seemed an alluring godsend of decency. And the famous court of love, presided over by the Vicomtesse de Quette, with the sea-green eyes, would perhaps have awarded the prize for coquetry to this canezou, in the contest for the prize of modesty. The most ingenious is, at times, the wisest. This does happen. Brilliant of face, delicate of profile, with eyes of a deep blue, heavy lids, feet arched and small, wrists and ankles admirably formed, a white skin which, here and there, allowed the azure branching of the veins to be seen, joy, a cheek that was young and fresh, the robust throat of the Juno of Aegina, a strong and supple nape of the neck, shoulders modeled as though by Cousteau, with a voluptuous dimple in the middle, visible through the muslin, a gaiety cooled by dreaminess, sculptural and exquisite. Such was Fantine. And beneath these feminine adornments and these ribbons one could divine a statue, and in that statue, a soul. Fantine was beautiful, without being too conscious of it. Those rare dreamers, mysterious priests of the beautiful who silently confront everything with perfection, would have caught a glimpse in this little working woman through the transparency of her Parisian grace, of the ancient sacred euphony. This daughter of the shadows was thoroughbred. She was beautiful in the two ways, style and rhythm. Style is the form of the ideal. Rhythm is its movement. We have said that Fantine was joy. She was also modesty. To an observer who studied her attentively, that which breathed from her athwart all the intoxication of her age, the season and her love affair, was an invincible expression of reserve and modesty. She remained a little astonished. This chaste astonishment is the shade of difference which separates Psyche from Venus. Fantine had the long, white, fine fingers of the Vestal Virgin who stirs the ashes of the sacred fire with a golden pin. Although she would have refused nothing to Tholomyès, as we have more than ample opportunity to see, her face in repose was supremely virginal. A sort of serious and almost austere dignity suddenly overwhelmed her at certain times, and there was nothing more singular and disturbing than to see gaiety become so suddenly extinct there, and meditation succeed to cheerfulness without any transition state. This sudden and sometimes severely accentuated gravity resembled the disdain of a goddess. Her brow, her nose, her chin presented that equilibrium of outline, which is quite distinct from equilibrium of proportion, and from which harmony of countenance results. In the very characteristic interval which separates the base of the nose from the upper lip, she had that imperceptible and charming fold, a mysterious sign of chastity which makes Barberousse fall in love with a Diana found in the treasures of Iconia. Life is a fault. So be it. Fantine was innocence floating high over fault. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com and check out the shop. You can check out the show notes or our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media as well.